I'm really happy to be here, and thank you to everyone for taking time out of your evening to be here as well. I'm going to be reading This Side of the Fire, and this book needs a little context. It's broken up into three sections. I'm going to read a couple poems from each of the three sections. The sections function as a kind of roadmap. The first section is a series of epistolary poems written to an estranged younger sister who I have the delight to let everybody know is now communicating with me once again. So after many years of no word, we've reestablished contact, and we're starting the tenuous process of renewing some communication. So in those poems, which are mostly titled Dear Red, Red is the figure of my younger sister, just to clear up any confusion. The second section is taking place in Idaho, and the third section takes place in California. It's pretty much all you need to know. In a documentary, mountaineers cling to ropes during a whiteout, rising through ice. And when someone falls, a body becomes an impossible shrine, on earth and gone at the same moment. These places we reference with our words, rescue cannot be spoken. And so time becomes our mouthpiece. The young man wanting a closer look at Yellowstone's boiling pools, dissolving while his sister watched. My sister is alive, 30, goes by Red. Her hair dyed many times, fatigued to the cuticle, maybe thinking the tattoos, piercings, drugs, booze would disappoint me, forgetting I had them first. I said I wasn't her father. Years later, we danced at a punk show. But now I dream her in a blue flower dress, a freshman smiling in a state school hoodie, a rescued owl with one eye walking its cage. I ask her to sit and tell me what threw her years into a single word. I see her through the door of a blizzard, her foot rising, stepping through. I forgot to mention this. Everybody here seems cool and savvy, but I've been to some readings, maybe you have too, where people are just so eager to like, yay, I love this, that they'll text things in the chat function, which I know is all love, but maybe just not for this reading. I think I could speak for Lauren too. Just hold it, because afterwards we can just, shower us with adulation. And the thing is, I just find it distracting and it throws me off my game. So thank you. Dear Red, at the landfill, poking through the ruins, go back. This sliver of trash was perhaps a jug, carrying milk in its breast like a waiting mother. And further, plastic beads, sweating, losing their shape in a pot of polyethylene soup. Go further. How much we owe to ancient bodies, to dinosaurs, and the burning engine of fossils. The men in tractors don't care for me. I know. There are signs about what I'm doing, but the doll hands keep waving me over. The burst refrigerators look somehow sexual, wide open in the dirt. What is this lamp with no bulb? Statue? Homage to shadows? The immortality of mirrors, still catching light, even when the body is a bed of broken teeth. I convince myself that photos, lying in dog bowls, crushed under tires, have copies somewhere, siblings across town or in a big city. The sun's rays, bouncing from a satellite dish, warming a pile of vegetables. I convince myself that you are safe, that everything abandoned is kin. Dear Red, if what we forget says more than what we remember, then we have said much in our forgetting. Each of us, the dark spot floating in the other's eye, a single blurred moment drowning in a day. On the stove, my silver kettle spitting its insides over a spidered flame, or a bus unclenching at the stop, gathering us as strangers. My memory has cataracts, a black sky pocked with glowing mouths. I stare right at them. I build you from these spaces, wait for you to speak in the halls of our forgetting. Something we can dance to, an offering I never gave you, a digging tool, a mollusk, a wind-up kangaroo, a poem you may fold into a star. The middle section, thank you everybody. The middle section features poems that take place in Idaho from my past. And this poem is simply titled Idaho. It's been years, but still feels right there and raw. I live in a desert now, write poems about how drunk I used to be, how sober I am now. Always looking over my shoulder at the young men who raided golf courses, blew up mailboxes, said so many stupid things to young women. Did you ever take time to study the ocean? So perfect, the landlocked marine biologist. Reminds me of a poet I know, lives in the desert. We damn near killed ourselves back then, and sometimes I'm terrified only one of us didn't make it out of our 20s. S lived with an ache, something just outside and burning. Remembered the combo, but forgot the safe. I'm sorry for whatever made him stick a pistol in his mouth and snap a picture. I'm sorry for the way we get what we ask for most when we aren't that articulate. He said the kid was probably mine, said, if it's got a big fucking head, I'm not paying child support. He had that way of joking, like someone's life was driving fast in the dark, clicking off the lights. I remember laughing at all those white houses, the living room couches, the music videos, bright rooms with big beds and a green cockatiel biting my cuticles, kitchens, and the hands of fathers dwarfing their coffee cups, gripping them the way I tried to protect her. That other guy, when I called, wasn't scared, not at all. Said he'd been recently stabbed, and maybe I'd give him a day or two before we fought. And when we cried together. I know something broke between us after I headed west to play drums in a rock band. Was it S's death? Was it my words? Anyway, we're all headed for more death and words. Here's a nod to the days we ran so fast, we couldn't tell the expressions on our faces. Terror, joy, had enough, had enough. When I was younger, I got kind of my start playing shows, doing like, punk gigs at skate parks and roller rinks and things like that. But also I found steady gigs in churches. It was a place to rehearse because, when you play drums, you get the cops called on you and you drive your family members out of their minds. It's very loud and it's really obnoxious, especially when you're learning how to play drums. So churches represented this place where I could go and have a kit and practice and perform, even though I was the least religious, faith-based person in the room. It was a gig. And not only was it a gig, but churches tend to have big tall ceilings and a lot of reverb, which I love. This poem is called God's Music. The pews of the white Baptist church, dusted, polished, cupping the potted plant of each believer. When I played there, the music ran the risk of sin. Careful not to shuffle, no backbeat, nothing in the shape of a gift for women and their hips. Playing for the Black Baptist Church, the beat ushered believers into spirals of seizure flights, sprints to the stage, victory arms outstretched in fine suits and dresses, all our Sunday best. That little church, the uniform pleas of throats and hands, up-tempo gospel rhythms spreading through the walls, through our chests, resonant chambers growing hot. Could I help it that even without religion, something in that room spoke of faith, fellowship splashing my eyes and shoulders? When the church burned, we said electrical, code, faulty. The rebuild, the gutted slab regenerated into hallowed space, the workers saying nothing of the sacred, pouring a new building over the old good foundation. When it burned a second time, our eyes went out like candles. There are believers who'd rather not pray than put their God in a box, and others who eat their divinities one slick piece at a time. The wrestling coach. Muscled thighs wide as telephone poles. Not many of us had seen a man like that up close. And so, fear, jokes, wagers about the limit of his strength. I could do push-ups and pull-ups, run a quick enough mile. I had grown up with strong men dressed in dark green flight suits who seemed to sharpen their razors against their jawlines. I knew to not hang myself with my words, to not speak to these men unless it was their idea. But when my classmate grew a tumor in her brain, Coach took up a collection, shaved his head, wore a tutu over a singlet, complete with headgear, broke his thumb wrestling a metal folding chair for the amusement of the school, to raise money for the medical bills. And when my classmate died, Coach kept his hair buzzed, kept teaching us how to sweep the knees, how to shoot in, tap out before your arm splinters, before your vision goes blurry, as black as sleep. I just have a couple more here for you all. Now, it wasn't all fun and games in California. At a certain point, I was involved in a violent altercation and spent a couple days in jail. It was self-defense and expunged from my record, but you can't expunge going to the Twin Towers Correctional Facility in Los Angeles, California. In the sleepless, pale light of paper-cut windows, each day a glowing cup of orange juice and plastic food I do not eat, white as the slivered rib bone stitched into the blue of a young man's eye socket in a hospital a few miles away. What does it mean? Nothing but clothes and numbers. It would take 32 years to count to 1 billion. Forgetting is no small grace, especially now, brimming with corruption. I want drugs. I want the wrinkled flag of a wrecked balloon. It's yellow, held in the stray wires of flight, thrashing a warning or invitation the same way everything thrashes when we need it still as an answer. Above that steel bunk bed, I am a kite flying over and over against the walls. And now later we make our way to the high desert. Harmony Road. I am piling dead oleander, mending the crooked arms of my gate that drag sand in and out, the way some children make winter angels, their heated breath cooling, dying in the snowfall. Did you ever meet the Idaho gun store clerk, the one with singed knuckle hairs? Did you see the flash of light from the clip of his gut hook? He'd open glass cases, eject magazines, and pull back the slides to show they were unloaded. Did a white price tag cinched around the trigger guard keep spinning when he offered you the pistol? I just want to say this memory wears me like a lead smock. Dough-necked men have poured across this country, their cartoon gods, their unlimited guns. I just want to ask if you knew about that gun store clerk, about his house and the cat in the freezer, what happened to his children. I had been there and never been there. I had seen them and never seen them. In the belly of that house, I felt the cold in my chest and kept quiet. It was all over the local news, that house under a halo of helicopters. Thank you, everyone. This is my last poem. Thank you for showing up. I really appreciate everybody being here and taking the time to listen to my work. The Epistemology of Snakes, and this is with a nod to the fantastic poet Jeffrey Davis, who I had the privilege of working with during my MFA. The Epistemology of Snakes. Tonight, the moon is huge and red. Elle and I are wearing heavy boots, trying to make our dogs urinate, but they're sniffing, staring beyond our lights at the shadows of what has fallen, scattered like bones, the city below our feet, each black beetle, a drop of wet tar, raising its ass in silent warning, the body as weapon. Not unlike the curled snake I found beneath my gate one evening, a green twist of muscle punctuated with a flat of brown diamonds, stacked tail of clattering plates, tongue painting my silhouette. Just a juvenile and yet more dangerous. The smallness of a child's fingers tracing gunmetal in his mother's purse. I walked under the sky's amethyst bowl to the flat-nosed shovel leaning against the shed. Coming home the next day, I found the headless body wriggled free from the burial. One final gesture, as though death had remade itself as sand and heat, the sun itself. Thank you so much, everyone.